Friday, everybody, and it is Championship Friday, and should be an interesting and fun one. Amadeus, I know we're both excited about tonight because, of course, it's the Pac-12, the last Pac-12 championship game being played in Vegas, and it should be a killer. It starts at 8 o'clock tonight. Fowler and Curb Street, and ABC. It's on the stage. Oregon, Washington.
Yeah, championship Friday, championship weekend, really, and
Right.
honestly, that Kirk Herbstreit is one busy guy. Last week flying from Virginia to Oregon in one day just to do two games. Now we got him on Thursday night. Yesterday we got him again tonight. It's all over the place. You can't flip on the TV without hearing Kirk Herbstreit these days.
Yeah, Kirby has got he's got a pretty cool gig. They give him he's got a private plane. And
Oh well, you got it at that point.
of course, got to have that. And he takes his dog with him on the plane.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you got to fly across the country to do two different games in one day, I'd want to bring the dog too.
He has to have his comfort animal with him. It's one of those things.
Exactly.
So, that's going to be a game tonight. It's Bo Nix. It's Michael Penix Jr. Some Heisman hype here all the way down the line. We've been all over these teams for the entire season. I don't know what the line is, but I'm going with Oregon.
Yeah. So the line is -9.5 for Oregon. I actually.
Whoa. Okay. Maybe I'm
saw,
not. That's a lot. That's a lot. Maybe I'm not going. I think Oregon will win 9 points. That's a lot of points.
Yeah, it's funny, Jim. That's not the first time I've heard that reaction to this line. Pretty much leading up to the game, everybody I was talking to had pretty much the same reaction. We're all ready to take Oregon in the finals, and then you see the
Right.
-9.5, and you're like, "Whoa, wait a minute here." So
Slow down, boys. Yeah.
but yeah, definitely this is definitely the game of the weekend for me. Like, if I had to pick one game between today and tomorrow to watch, it would definitely be this one. And as far as I'm concerned, this is the national championship right here. Whoever wins this game, this is your number one and number two team playing. I don't even need to watch the playoffs.
Don't need to even go there. Oh, there you go. All right, just because we don't want to slide anybody tonight on CBSN, a 7 o'clock kickoff, so an hour before. New Mexico State, one of our adopted teams, at Liberty, a team that we both think is a quality squad. So should be a fun game. Games being played in, of course, down in Southern Virginia, and New Mexico State's coming cross country for this one. Boys, I gotta believe it's gonna be tough to beat Liberty at home.
Yeah, the books would agree, since Liberty's I've seen it fluctuate from 10.5 to 11.5. So
Well, those are big. Those are big spreads on those.
Yeah, both double-digit spreads tonight. But I mean, if you don't want to watch the games because of the spread, don't let the spread deter you, because these, both games we're talking 10-win teams playing each other. So
yeah, the games will be fantastic. I'm just saying, if I would be a little hesitant to lay down a couple of bob or quid on this. It would those are just big spreads to me.
Yeah, definitely. It's always a big spread. I mean, big spreads aren't as scary in college compared to the NFL, for sure. I mean,
True.
Double-digit spreads rarely get covered in the NFL compared to college. So yeah, it's definitely, obviously it was a bit surprising to see the double-digit spreads for both these games, but it's gonna be great to watch. Obviously,
yeah.
Either we're gonna get a competitive game or a blowout either way. So we'll see what happens in these games tonight.
Well, I'll have my popcorn ready to go, so I'm not gonna let that deter me from watching. No question about it. Saturday kicks off with noon on ABC. Sean McDonough, Greg McElroy, and the game that they're calling is the Big 12 championship game. Okie State, OSU, taking on Texas. That game's been played in Jerry World. I hate to say this, but this is one of those games I could pass on, to be honest. I you're talking about must watch. I'm not so sure this is a must watch game.
Yeah, I'm with you. The entire Big 12 conference this year has kind of felt that way. Just you just disregard. You don't even need to watch them. But yeah, this is another one where you're getting a double digit spread. Texas, they opened up, it was around 11 and a half, and now they're 15-point favorites. So a lot of line movement in this one.
Whoa.
But yeah, I'm with you. Probably not my marquee matchup of the Saturday to watch for sure.
The funny thing is, Amadeus, that Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State 5 years ago, he was a hot coach. I mean, he was getting feelers from a ton of different schools, and now he's kind of like just sunk into the, kind of like PJ Fleck at Minnesota. They were hot 5 years ago, and now, they're in the witness relocation program.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, that could change. Let's say Oklahoma State pulls off the upset against
Mm-hmm.
Texas this weekend, then maybe you'll see Mike Gundy's name get thrusted right back into the conversation there.
Yeah, but also being to Texas.
Yeah.
That's a job I'm not sure I would want, is the Texas job. Because no matter how well you coach and your team plays, it's never good enough.
Yeah, that's what it feels like with Texas, right? It's like nothing's
Mm-hmm.
ever good enough for them. And Texas, obviously they're going to the SEC next year, so it's going to be an even tougher challenge for them to get to the conference title, because from what we've seen from the Big 12 this year, I think it's safe to say the SEC is I mean, there are some bad teams in the SEC, but I think it's a definitely more dominant conference than what we've seen from the Big 12 teams this year.
Miami of Ohio and Toledo in the MAC championship. Amish, Sharif, and Andre Ware on the call. That's an ESPN nooner. And game's being played in Detroit in Ford Field. It'll be cold, but it'll be nice and comfortable at Ford Field. So I don't know. Toledo to me, I would favor Toledo in this game. I think they certainly they got a wide open offense and a fun team to watch. I guess I'm going to go with the Rockets on this one.
Yeah, well, the books would agree with you, Jim. The Rockets were a 8.5-point favorite earlier in the week. It's down to 7.5 points now. But yeah, what can you say about this Toledo team? They've looked like the best team in the MAC all season. Dequan Finn is by far the better quarterback, and this is a very interesting game for Miami, Ohio, because their starting quarterback Gabbert actually got injured when they played each other during the regular season, and now obviously Gabbert's been out for the season. So Miami, Ohio, they've been scraping by the last few weeks, but they haven't looked as good with the quarterback that they have starting right now. And yeah, this is one where Gabbert played quite a bit of that game. So I know that they kept it close, but really we haven't seen Toledo. We haven't seen a full game of this guy against Toledo. And Toledo, really, their one loss this year was to Illinois at the beginning of the season. And that was a game they were leading the entire time. It was shocking to see Illinois come back and win that one. So yeah, we're talking about a Toledo team. They had that scare against, I think it was Bowling Green a few weeks ago, where they were down by 20 points and they still won by 1. So this is a resilient team, probably the best team in the MAC from a talent standpoint. And I can definitely see Toledo getting it done.
Well, and the other point is that it's only about, I don't know, a 45-mile drive, maybe 50 miles from Toledo up to Detroit. So I imagine there's going to be a lot of Rocket fans make that trip. They can go up, enjoy the game, and still be home for dinner. So it's not a tough trip up there. And at least it's not snowy time to go up to Detroit. So Toledo's close enough, and it's not like Miami of Ohio is a long way, but it is definitely a trek. Up there, it's more of a 2-3 hour drive for the folks in Miami of Ohio. But I think Toledo fans will definitely show up at Ford Field tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's move on to the Mountain West. That's a Fox game. And that's going to be Joe Benedetti and Brock Heward on that call. Boise State and UNLV, the running Rebels, baby.
Yeah, this is one where Boise State they're a 2.5 point favorite, and obviously we know the deal with UNLV. They just kept winning all year, even when they weren't supposed to win games. They kept winning. They had some pretty good wins as well. I believe they beat Wyoming and Air Force. So when they were looking like the more dominant teams in the conference as well. So yeah, obviously it came down to that three-way tie with San Jose State, and obviously San Jose State is the team that has been screwed out of the championship. Yeah. But this is what we're left with, a Boise State team that fired their head coach with like 3 games left in the season. Right. Ends up in the Mountain West Conference Championship against a team that everybody picked to finish last in the conference at the beginning of the season. So right. Who would have predicted this for the Mountain West?
There you go. It's kind of a Mountain West thing, right? I mean, it's what you expect from the Mountain West, the unexpected. The thing on the UNLV side, which also you need to take into consideration if you're a fan or if you're even considering, wagering, is those 2 wins that we talked about, which were the marquee wins, the ones out, against Wyoming and against Air Force. Both of those they won on the road.
Yeah, this is definitely a battle-tested UNLV team. Boise State actually hasn't been good on the road this year, and the game, obviously, UNLV has the home advantage for it. So right. This is definitely, home advantage could come into play here for the Rebels, just because Boise State, I mean, obviously they've been great on the Smurf turf all year, and, losing that game early in the season to, who was it, Central Florida, probably big reason why they fired Andy Avalos, because you can't be losing on the Smurf turf. No. But they're not on the Smurf turf for this game, so it's good. It's going to be an interesting one. Obviously, being played in the same place as the Washington Oregon
Pac-12 championship game, at the Allegiant Stadium in Vegas.
Yeah, but this time it's not a neutral site, so we'll see what happens. This will be a good one because. Because I think I know personally I wasn't expecting either one of these teams in the championship. I thought it would have been Fresno State and Air Force, really, the way they were playing at the beginning of the season. But obviously, both of those teams fell through the cracks. So it'll be an interesting that might be an intriguing game to watch this weekend.
I'm sure it'll be fun. Speaking of fun, this ought to be a fun game. It's 4:00 on ABC. It's got Roy Philpott and Randy Jones on the call. It's the American Championships. SMU, before they head for the ACC next year, taking on a Tulane team that just keeps winning, and they have not slowed down since beating USC in the Cotton Bowl last year.
Yeah, this is a very interesting game. I'm not going to say too much about it, but. The one thing that interests me the most is Tulane was somewhere close to a 6-point favorite early in the week, and now they're down to a 3-point favorite. And Preston Stone, the starting quarterback for SMU, broke his leg last week against Navy. So it's very interesting how the line continues to move towards SMU, despite the fact that their starting quarterback is out. So. This is going to be an interesting game. Another one. I think this is going to be a very good game to watch. If you can only watch one game in this time window, I think this might be the game to watch. Just because you know what they say, Jim. If you want to be the champs, you got to beat the champs, and that's exactly what Tulane is in the AAC. So this is SMU's last chance to win an AAC title, and Tulane's obviously going to be trying to defend theirs. So a lot on the line here for both teams.
Right, and one of the things that SMU did to get into the ACC for next season is they decided they wouldn't take any TV money from the ACC for the first 7 years that they're in the conference. Okay. So maybe, just maybe, the Mustangs have some of those heavy duty, alumni betting that line down because I just don't see how they beat Tulane. I really don't. I mean, Tulane basically brought back the same team for all intents and purposes that won the conference last year and went on to play and beat as I said before, SC in the Cotton Bowl. So I'm sorry, I'm on Tulane here, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, hey, Tulane's only loss this season was at home to Ole Miss in a game where Michael Pratt didn't play. So
right. All right. So we move on to 4:00. That's CBS's last game with the SEC. Brad Nessler and Gary Danielson on the call. It's Georgia, it's Alabama, and in the game's being played in Atlanta at the Mercedes-Benz Dome. And I had a friend of mine who is an assistant athletic director at a SEC school tell me that he thought if Alabama beats Georgia, it's possible that SEC may not even have a team in the championship. Now, I think that's a big, bold-faced lie, but nevertheless, Alabama and Georgia.
Possibly 2 SEC teams to if
that
Alabama.
That was the argument I was making. Is don't try to sandbag me, okay? Don't try to tell me that but poor SEC, if Georgia loses, then we're not going to have a team in the playoffs. It's like,
okay,
yeah, fine.
Just to entertain that thought for a second,
right?
Would that mean there's serious talk about having both Washington and Oregon in the Final Four? That's the only way, right? Like, how do you
the only way? Yeah.
Both or do we find a way to shoehorn Ohio State in as usual?
That would be
the invitation.
I would say that they would find a way to shoehorn Ohio State in there before we get Washington and Oregon. And the reason I say that is they don't have enough. They don't have enough juice from on the committee that that's going to pick the Final Four, as does both the Big Ten and the SEC.
The fact that we even got to talk about the committee, there's not enough Pac-12 people to get the Pac-12 teams in there, just should speak volumes about how garbage the entire system is.
Well, hell, I'll tell you right now, if Florida State loses to Louisville, I have no doubt they won't get in.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I think if the Louisville beats Florida State, you're going to start hearing Texas name get thrown around.
Yeah, I mean, you won't. If we damn sure we're not going to see Louisville in there. I mean, that's never good.
No, not with a loss to Kentucky and Pitt, Jim. Come on.
No, I mean it's they'll be lucky to get to buy tickets to the game.
Give them the ACC championship, fine, but that's it.
That's as far as you're going, dude. It's like we'll pick. You're going to the Citrus Bowl. Good luck. It's like So yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting situation with the the ACC. I'm sorry, the SEC championship. Sun Belt, App State and Troy. That's on ESPN 4:00. John Shillen and Rocky Bateman on the call there. App State and Troy. App State's played pretty well this year, so is Troy.
The Sun Belt's such a weird conference because it's one of those conferences where like at the beginning of the season, you don't know exactly who's going to win it because there's a few teams that could be really good. But at the same time, the last few years, you also know Troy has owned the conference on a leash. And it just feels like as good as they are, they always go under the radar. And then they end up in the game. You're like, oh, Troy was 7-1 in the Sun Belt this year. Wow.
Right.
Where did that come from?
Where did they show up?
Yeah, this isn't even the real championship, though, because they should be facing James Madison. Come on.
Right. Well, I mean, App State is to me kind of like the Gonzaga of college basketball, right? They show up every year and everybody goes, oh, that's a nice little team. We've heard the name before. I don't think that anybody outside of the college can name, or outside the conference can name four players on App State, but or for that matter, tell you where it's at. But it's got that kind of mystique of the little team that can do that. At least gives it some credibility amongst casual fans, knowing they've heard the name because App State has over the years gone on the road and whipped up on some big boys. Least of which, of course, was that upset win in Michigan.
Yeah, I would say they're kind of like the Boise State of the Sun Belt.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
You're not sure if they're gonna be good, but somehow they weren't even that great during the season, but somehow we're here and they're in the championship and with a chance to win it all. And it seems like a Boise State thing to do. And sure enough, App State has been that team.
That's very true. 4:00 ESPN2, the SWAC Championship, Prairie View A&M against the Rattlers from Florida A&M. Got to go with the Rattlers. They beat Prairie View early in the season, and no reason to believe that they can't do it again. It'll be Tiffany Green and Jay Walker on the call.
Yeah, nice little A&M bowl there. The PVAMU and FAMU, so that'll be interesting to watch. Maybe the winner can take on TAMU for the coaching job there. We'll see what Mike Elko's got in him, but I mean, FCS football is very exciting. I don't watch a lot of it myself, but their playoff system seems a little bit better than what we got going on in FBS. So
true. And the SWAC always has entertaining football games. Most of the time, it's defense optional, so that makes it very entertaining for the fans. Not
like
as much.
The Thursday night game last night.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Like the Thursday night game last night.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But Florida A&M's playing the game at home, so that certainly doesn't hurt them. We already talked at the ACC championship, FSU and Louisville. For me, FSU, of course, they've got their second string quarterback, but I think defensively and the running game for Florida State, I think Mike Norvell will dumb down the offense, a bit. Try to run the ball, which they did very successfully against Florida last week. I think that's what they're going to try to do is play keep away, if you will, not giving Louisville a lot of time on the field. If they can do that, if they can play ball control and defense, I think they can take Louisville.
Yeah, after the way they won that rock fight with Florida last week,
right.
I mean that's probably their best option, right? Keep the ball away from the Louisville offense and try to win it, because they struggled. I know they won the game by 10, but they struggled a lot to or 9, something like that. But they struggled to pull away in that game till the end. And
well, the defense, in that game helped out because they got 2 major turnovers that made the field much shorter for the offense, which was basically the running game last week for FSU. So they did win the rock fight, and they won it in an ugly but still they won it manner. So they're undefeated until somebody beats them, and games being played in Charlotte. So I this is one of those things, and I've always seen I don't know, I guess other conferences have had this problem, but the ACC has had it more than anybody else, and that is having a championship game that very few people show up to.
Why? Because it's so far in distance from
the two teams always actually in Charlotte, right? And there seldom is a North Carolina based team in the tournament. I mean, the championship game. They would be better served I would think, frankly, and nobody asked me, but they when the Pac-12 goes away at the end of this year, I think they'd be better served playing that game, rotating it between Atlanta, Tampa, Orlando, some of these other places where there's a possibility of getting, more casual fans and more fans that, if it's a destination where, people want to go, there's not a lot of people rushing to get to Charlotte.
Yeah, especially if you got to make an actual trip there and fly, you'd
Right.
rather fly to Florida than down to Charlotte.
Well,
So
yeah, especially when the weather's, in December, the weather down south, further south, is much better. And you could get a rotation where you could play this game in Miami, in Orlando, in Tampa, in New Orleans, Atlanta. There are a lot of places where you could play this game if you rotated it out of Charlotte. I know that that's where the league office is and the corporate, they have a massive corporate, following there. So it's kind of like, playing the game to make sure that your homeboys get a chance and sponsors get a chance to come to the game and don't really have to leave town to do it. So I get that part of it, but come on, guys, should be better than that. That's going to be on ABC, of course. Joe Testalone and Jesse Palmer on the call. JP, all right. That leads us to Fox at 8 o'clock, same time, same different channel. Gus and Joe are on the call for the Big Ten Championship. We talked a little bit about this yesterday. Iowa's defense against Michigan's offense, game being played at the Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I don't think Michigan's going to have a tough time with Iowa, but I don't think they're going to score a lot of points either.
Yeah, this was the one I was talking about with the win to nil, but obviously the win to nil odds are not very good at only plus 225 or something like that. So it is not even worth it. There's no value in the play. So I probably won't even be on the win to nil myself, but it's a game I really struggle to see Iowa scoring, and I don't know how they're going to score. I don't know how they're going to get the ball past midfield. That's the thing, right? Like, how are they getting the ball into Michigan territory to even kick a field goal? Like, their best chance of scoring in this game would probably be a safety, but I don't even think they'll be able to get the right field position to pin Michigan back that deep. So unless the defense finds a way to make a play with a turnover or something, I don't see the offense scoring in this game for Iowa.
Well, if you're an Iowa fan, okay, this is your only hope, okay, and that is Michigan has been prone, even though they scored a lot of points this year. They've been prone to lay the ball on the ground or have a pick, in football games. So it's not like Michigan doesn't make mistakes. Okay, so I guess my point is, could they get a scoop and score? Could they get a pick six? Could they get a short field because they screwed up? Because Michigan screwed up. Yes, I think that can happen. Will it happen multiple enough times to get by? No, it won't. But I do think that Michigan is prone to do to have a gaffe during the course of a game. But because Michigan has had such a fantastic offense, they've been in situations where, okay, we made a screw up, but we can make that back up. And I don't, as I say, I don't think Iowa's one of those teams that's gonna, if they do capitalize on that, that's great. But Michigan will figure out a way to get the points back.
Yeah, another thing is they've been prone to giving up a score on the first drive of the game. So
that's a good point. Yeah,
maybe they catch them off guard on that first drive, and then Iowa never scores again after that. How it's most possible. Michigan games have gone this season.
Well, if you're looking for a late night game, there's only one, and that's the FCS second round game. That's going to be on the Deuce ESPN2. Southern Illinois is on the road taking on Idaho in Moscow, Idaho, which is where Idaho is. Now, I don't know anything about either of these teams, so I'm not gonna wade into that. But Idaho has one of my favorite nicknames for a college sports team, and they're called the Vandals.
Yes,
So
that the good old Vandals.
so
I didn't
maybe they can
know they
maybe
played.
they can steal this one from Southern Illinois.
Yeah, I actually, Jim, I knew they were the Vandals. I didn't know they played in Moscow, Idaho, though. I did not know Moscow, Idaho is a place.
Yeah. So well, how often do you get to Idaho though? I mean, seriously.
So it's a good point. I mean, I know is Boise's play in Boise? That's a place, right? I believe that's a place in Idaho.
Yeah,
I think that's the only city I know in Idaho. Not I'm an East Coast person.
East Coast guy.
Yeah.
So that subs out. Now remember, folks, that on coming up on Sunday will be the announcement of where the bowl games are going to be, and so that's going to be a really cool opportunity to find out where who's going to be in the Final Four, and where do the other things shake out. So 100% very entertaining situation. All right, time to move over to the NFL real quick. We'll pop through. These are CBS's early games on Sunday. Denver is at Houston. Ian Eagle and Charles Davis on that call. Your Arizona Cardinals are in Pittsburgh to take on the we don't care how we win, but we just win Steelers. Kevin Harlan, Trent Green on that game. Indianapolis is at Tennessee. Andrew Cardellone, Tiki Barber, and Matt Ryan on that call. Chargers are in New England. Spiro Ditas and Adam Archuleta. And the late game, Carolina at Tampa Bay, the survivor game. Tom McCarthy, James Lofton, Jay Feely on that game. So those are your CBS games for Sunday. Anything there that piques your interest, my friend?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. If you had asked me 6 weeks ago, I wouldn't have said the Broncos Texans game is the best game on the board there. But out of the ones you just named, I mean, how can you not like the NFL's hottest team versus the NFL's hottest rookie?
True.
Yeah,
Sean Payton's redemption tour.
Yeah, so that one I think is going to be the exciting game to watch, just because obviously the Broncos they're on that big win streak. The Texans lost a close game to the Jags last week, and the Texans have obviously week after week they prove that despite drafting number 2 overall, they have a pretty decent roster. I guess D'Amico Ryans is some kind of wizard over there, but. Yeah, I mean, kudos to the Texans. They have probably been the biggest surprise to me in the NFL. I had them pegged as a bottom 5 team in the NFL this season coming into the year. So yeah, they're not there anymore. That's for sure.
Yeah, it looks like their future's pretty good. Let's go to Fox, where Detroit, New Orleans. That should be an entertaining football game. Joe Davis and Daryl Johnson on the call in that one. Miami is in the greater area here to take on the Commanders. Adam Amin and Mark Schlereth on that call. And Atlanta is at the Jets. Kenny Albert gets to stay home, we call this one, with Jonathan Wilma. I'm not so sure there's other than the Detroit New Orleans first game might be the best Fox game in the early window.
Yeah, it's hard to argue if those other 2 you named are the only competition.
Yeah,
it's hard to argue with that. I think the Lions and the Saints have a great potential to be a good game. Obviously, the Lions haven't looked right the last 2 weeks. It wasn't just last week, so they're gonna be itching for a much better performance where they don't come out of the gate and turn the ball over. And even the Saints, their season hasn't gone the way they want to. They have a losing record this season, but here they are, 5-6, 11 games through the season, and you're still in first place in the NFC South somehow, tied for first. So that's a huge game for them as well if they can win it.
That's true. San Francisco at Philadelphia, that's the game of the weekend, of teams that are potential Super Bowl teams.
Yeah, I think if that was the only game you watched this weekend, you didn't need to watch another game. not another single game on that slate that you need to watch other than this one.
Right. You got Cleveland and the Rams. That doesn't do anything for me. I don't know about you. But Kevin Kugler and Mark Sanchez on the
PJ Walker and Sean McVay don't move the needle for you, Jim?
Nah, I think not. I think that's an opportunity for me to catch up on Netflix or something. It's not worth it. Well, of course, if you are interested in a 4:00 game, like we said, the Survivor game between Carolina and Tampa Bay might be your afternoon game on CBS. But no, it doesn't do anything for me. Then we got our night game on Sunday night, and Sunday night's Kansas City Green Bay. That a couple of weeks ago that wouldn't have been a very overwhelmingly interesting game, but it might very well be a pretty decent game this week.
Yeah, obviously you have the Packers trying to claw themselves back into wild card contention, and now the Chiefs, they've lost 3 games this season. That's the most they've lost like each season in the last 2 years. So they're going to be looking at it like we can't lose another game for the rest of the year. So it's going to be it'll be an interesting Sunday night game for sure.
Yeah, and the chances. There's a chance on Sunday night, and here this is gonna really, I'm sure, surprise everybody. There's actually a chance of snow for the night game on Sunday night. We have not yet seen that snowing situation on a national game. Is at least in the NFL. So we'll see how that works out come Sunday. Right now, looking at the forecast, the possibility of snow, around kickoff time is pretty good. So it's about 70% chance of rain/snow, so slushy stuff, and that could change how the game is played on Sunday night.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's obviously with the injury to Aaron Jones, that'll hurt that'll hurt the Packers for sure. I'm not sure if Aaron Jones is going to be back yet, but definitely there's probably going to be a lot of running. Obviously, what we've seen from the Chiefs is they've had a pretty good running game this year with Pacheco leading the charge. So their offense did look a lot better against the Raiders. They had that early scare. So last week, the Chiefs actually did the opposite of what they've been doing all season. They've been doing this thing where they get out to early leads and they score 20 points in the first half, and then they score nothing in the second half, and they're barely lucky to hang on to the game. Last week it was the opposite. They were down, I think, 14-0 at one point, and then they just came out and blew them out of the water, 31-17. So I mean, maybe that was the wake-up call they needed to finally get in motion. It seems like Mahomes is starting to carve out number one wide receiver in that offense as well. So we'll have to see what happens in this game. It won't be the clunker though that we've been used to in recent weeks for sure. So after the Thursday fest last week, now we had the 70-point game last night. Maybe we'll start getting some exciting primetime games going forward.
It's about time. And next week, of course, we start getting some Saturday games on on the weekends of the NFL because college football will be, into bowl season. So that'll make for some interesting stuff. But no, it's I don't know. I guess the Philadelphia 49ers game is really the game of the weekend. You know, as far as the NFL is concerned.
Yeah, I'm shocked that's not the Sunday night game, but
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. We don't make the schedule, Jim.
we don't. Although again, like you said, we're not getting cheated on a Sunday night game. Green Bay and entertaining Kansas City. The one thing I would be concerned about if I'm Kansas City is if that sloppy mess up there, and it's in fairness, the field in Green Bay is usually well taken care of, so I don't think that's going to be the case. But if it becomes a little icy, I'm telling Mahomes just do not run around out there. Okay, we don't need you to hurt yourself a couple of with 5 games left to go in the season.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be, and we'll see. I mean, maybe it doesn't snow. Maybe it does.
Maybe it
We'll
doesn't.
we'll have to wait till closer to kickoff to really know. So,
How does that affect the line, if at all?
it definitely does affect the line. It more so affects totals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'll usually you'll get much lower totals if they expect the weather to be bad. Even it doesn't even necessarily have to be snow. Even like a bad rainstorm will do that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. Obviously, because not everybody can pass in the elements. There are some quarterbacks out there. Guys like Josh Allen, Mahomes. They've done it. They've proven they can do it. But a lot of these other quarterbacks, they struggle. Especially if you came from college, you're a younger quarterback who came from a sunnier place in college, maybe somewhere down south. Yeah, you're going to struggle in these games out in the elements for sure. So that usually affects the total more, just because of the points being scored in the game. Obviously, you're not going to get as much, and even in those conditions, we know field goals can be very difficult just to put three
Yeah.
on the board, unless you're Jake Elliott, of course, who
Right.
apparently can kick a ball 60 plus yards soaking wet in the downpouring rain, which is pretty damn impressive if you ask
Right.
me.
Or Justin Tucker. He seems to be able to do,
Yes,
kick it.
obviously he's the only Hall of Fame kicker I can name.
And, well, other than Jan Stenerud, who is already there. But yeah, the thing, it's funny, in 40 years of covering the NFL, the one thing that every time you talk to quarterbacks that concerns them, most of the guys I've spoken to, snow, they'll say, yeah, snow can affect it a little bit. Snow to them mainly is concerning to wide receivers cutting and things like that, where, they may throw the ball and the wide receiver falls down or can't make the cut that he hoped he could make because the track's not as, as pristine as it might be under normal conditions. But the one thing that they all are consistent or have been consistent over the years is wind. That freaks them out more than anything.
Yeah, definitely wind, especially when you get the swirling winds. Then
Mm-hmm.
it's really at that point, kicking a field goal is just a shot in the dark.
Oh yeah,
In some of these stadiums, with the way the wind swirls, it's like the flags could be going one way, but you really don't know what way the ball is going to move unless
that's
you
above the
practiced
field,
in it.
right? On the
Yes.
field, it's different, and you don't know. I mean, what you see, on the flagpoles, well, even what you see, frankly, when the little tassels are on the top of the goalposts, that can be deceiving as well. So it is what it is. It's going to be interesting. It's been a fun weekend. We talked about college football's got all sorts of fun championships Saturday, and it's getting to crunch time. As Yogi Berra used to say, it's getting late early for the NFL, and some of these teams that have been, throughout the season have been, we don't know where they are. Well, this is the time. If you're going to make a run, this is the time to start.
Yeah, and right now it seems like there's just a lot of bad teams in the NFL. You have the few that are dominating their divisions,
Right.
and then almost in every other division, the second place team is right around 500. except for, the AFC
Mhm.
North, where everybody's 7-4 or better, except for the Bengals.
Right.
But yeah, especially in the NFC, you have the entire NFC South that's under 500, and
Mhm.
really other than the Cowboys and yeah, I was going to say maybe the Bills, but not even the Bills. Just really the Cowboys. The
Mhm.
other two wild card spots are up for grabs. Every other team is right around that 5-6, 6-5 mark.
Mhm. It's gonna be a freaky final, few weeks of the season, that's for sure. All right. Speaking of freaky, um, let's talk about your weekend. Is there any soccer that we should be paying attention to?
Oh, of course, we got tons of domestic leagues going on. The
Mhm.
Premier League, La Liga, you name it. I know the even the Brazilian league. They're coming down. They got 2 matches left. But
Mhm.
it was a tight title race up until the last match day. But yeah, there's tons going on for sure in the soccer world. But I don't know. These are always weirder weeks because these are kind of like this. This is the sandwich match day between a lot of these teams playing in European competition, whether it's Champions League and Europa League this past midweek, and then this is kind of like these weekend games are the sandwich games because a lot of these teams play in cup matches upcoming this week, and so not every team focuses on the cup matches, and they'll start their lineups accordingly. But there are others that are actually more focused on the cup competition. So you always got to be weary of that when betting this kind of weekend because you got to know like, okay, are they going to try to win this one and throw the cup match because they don't care, or they think they can get by here with a weaker lineup, and then they really want to win that cup match to try and bring home some silverware. So always some situational stuff on these kind of weekends.
There you go. Not a bad situation. All right. Speaking of not a bad situation, my friend, it has come to that point in time in the show where we get to do some shameless plugs here, starting with the fact that you can get all of Amadeus's in vital and very informative information right in the show box down below.
Yeah, make sure you check out my premium plays at bigal.com, at pickadvisor.com, and theinsidersroom.com. I got my Conference USA Game of the Year up for tonight, as well as my Pac-12 Game of the Month. I have an NBA Western Conference Game of the Month as well, and some 4 college basketball plays. So plenty across the board tonight. I also have my NFL card and my college football card posted for the weekend as well, so you can get that. And I'll have tons of I'll have tons of soccer, not so much Premier League. We'll have
Mm-hmm.
to see. Like I said, it's usually a lighter weekend for me on these
Mm-hmm.
these kind of situational spots. But yeah, make sure you go check that out. I had a great November, and we're just heating up into December now.
Don't forget the NFL.
Yeah, I said you get my NFL card already
Oh,
posted,
I'm sorry. Yeah.
and the college football for
Right.
tomorrow as
Okay.
well.
All right. Don't we're on point here for the rest of it. So
Yes.
anyway, by the way, just for those we talked about it yesterday, I'm halfway through my Dion story. So I've taken your lead and I'm working on it. And sometime next week, you'll get the link and and get the credit for coming up with the idea.
I look forward to reading the Deion Sanders Forbes Sports Person of the Year.
There you go. There you go. It'll be fun. That's for sure. Well, look, bud, have a safe and a happy weekend, and we'll be back on Monday. And my goodness, will we have a lot to talk about?
Yeah, we will. It's going to be a big weekend.
You know what? You said this week, and I just want to remind the guests and the folks watching that regardless of who the 4 are in the Final Four in college football, Amadeus came out on the record and said, "I'm going to be bitching about one of them at least."
There's going to
So
be complaints no matter what. There's no
that's right.
avoiding it. Well, I mean,
So,
not if you're telling me there's no SEC teams in it now. Now I don't know what to think anymore.
well,
So
wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. If there's no, first of all, I don't believe that. Number one, but you know what? If that's the case, then it's probably going to be two Big Ten teams.
That's true. They'll get there's going to be two of something, and it won't be the right conference. That's
It
for
won't
sure.
be the Pac. It damn sure is not going to be the Big 12.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the ACC. So, what does that leave us? Oh, wait a minute. That leaves us the Big Ten and the SEC.
Yeah. So, like you said, I said there's going to be something to complain about, but we'll have to wait to find out what exactly.
Well, it'll be late on Sunday evening before we find it out. But by the time you see us on Monday at 2 o'clock, we will be ready, willing, and able to just start the month-long bitchathon about why these teams should be there.
Yes, being full on rant mode by then.
There you go. And that's just going to lead us into the NFL playoffs, where we will also have teams that shouldn't be there.
Yeah, whoever from
So,
the NFC South.
It's a fun season. It's a
Mm-hmm.
season of giving grief.
Yes.
There you
Make
go.
sure to air your grievances.
That's right, and we're happy to have you come on, folks, and air yours as well.
Yes.
All right. AMEDEUS, have a wonderful weekend, my friend, and everybody else out there, be safe, enjoy, get the popcorn, get all your munchies ready, because starting tonight, lock yourself in. It's going to be a long weekend. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.